Hey folks, it's Wayne. So what are they not telling us about the housing market as we roll into 2023? Let's face it, for the last 2 years, it's been kind of a wild ride. It's been very much a seller's market, not so much a buyer's market, and not so much a feeding frenzy when it comes to real estate and real estate sales and trying to find a house, right? What they're not telling us is real estate is hyper local, like hyper focused local. It really doesn't matter. It's just like when a loaf of bread costs more money in a different city and a different state, everything is more expensive and it ebbs and flows depending on the demographic, the really hyper-focused demographic of the market. You see, when you Google real estate and housing market and what's going on, what's happening, what's going down, you can see Yahoo Finance, Forbes, you can see CoreLogic, the National Association of Realtors, just to name a few. And oftentimes, it's not a positive thing. However, anyone can see that the housing market has slowed down. Interest rates close to 7%, the highest they've been in 13 years, as opposed to the 3%, 3.5% rates we've seen for a decade. And though we are seeing home prices come down in some states, many areas, we're seeing a steady increase in prices still. The reason for that is simply the supply of homes. There's not a huge supply of homes on the market. The supply of homes right now on the market is still lower than it was pre-pandemic, and it's still lower than it was back during the housing crisis of 2007, 2008. And it's not just resale homes. It's not just multifamily or land. New construction is down. The cost to build a new home is up sizably compared to in years past. Now, homes are staying on the market longer, but there is fewer competition if you're putting your home on the market. There's less homes to choose from than it would be, say, 3 to 4 years ago. However, there's also less buyers. So as a home buyer, you don't have to feel as pressed. You don't have to feel as rushed. And yes, mortgage rates have increased. They are higher than they were this time last year, almost by double. And will they continue to go up? I believe so. They're saying and predicting they will, and more than likely they will go up. When it will stop, nobody really knows. Now, as mentioned, no one really knows what the rates are going to do, but they're saying that they're basically going to be stable in around the 7%, the mid to low 7s by the fourth quarter of this year, 2023. But everyone needs to know and realize that the average interest rate, the average mortgage rate over the last 40 years has been 7%. And I've said this to so many people, I wish they would have raised the interest rate sooner. You knew they were going to raise the rates. It was just a matter of time before the Federal Reserve was going to up the rates, raise the rates. So why didn't they do it sooner? And here's why I say they should have done that sooner. I call it the trampoline effect. You buy your kid a trampoline, you put it in the backyard, the kid's excited, they love it, they jump on it. After 6 weeks, they come in the house and say, I'm bored. Why don't you go jump on your trampoline? That's boring. It's because you've wore it out. You've done that. So what happens is when the rates stay between 2.9 and 4% for 13 years, everyone gets accustomed to it. Their lifestyle gets accustomed to it. The mortgage payments get accustomed to it. It's great if you've purchased a house during those times, but it's hard to get over that hump to say, wow, I wish I would have purchased a house then. I should have done then. And then you just should all over yourself. The good news is there's been a whole lot more people, millions and millions of people that have purchased homes in the United States that have no regrets whatsoever that they purchased a property. Sure, there was that time 15 years ago when the market took a dip, but that was a different market. Let me share with you a little bit of reason why that was such a different market. 15 years ago, there were 8 million job cuts as opposed to 0 job cuts today. So will we see a housing market crash? I don't think so. You had 8 million jobs cut 15 years ago during the housing market crash and no job cuts today. Now you also have to look at the people that were actually working. So not just job cuts, but how many jobs were actually working. Now 15 years ago, 2007, 2008, there were 138 million jobs. Today, 158 million jobs. Another big difference was subprime loans. Now subprime loans, really simple. It used to be that if you had less credit, lower credit, if you were in the fives, mid fives, then you didn't get a loan, you got a BC loan. And the BC loan was someone that had bruises on their credit, had some late pays, wasn't on their job as long as they would be if they had an A credit rating. So the difference is you got a BC loan. When you got a BC loan, guess what? You got to purchase a house, but the BC loan had a higher rate. And not only did the BC loan have a higher rate, these were called subprime loans, but we called them in the real estate world as ninja loans. No income, no job, no asset. They were giving everybody a home loan. They dropped the credit score drastically so people could purchase houses. And unfortunately, those people that were purchasing houses were more than likely purchasing homes that they probably shouldn't be affording to purchase. Now, add the fact that 8 million jobs were cut. You can see how that happened. The good news is those are non-existent. There's no subprime BC loans. Not when it comes to residential property. It's literally like you can purchase a house right now with a 580 credit score, which is great, but you still got to have 2 years on the job. You got to show proof of income, proof of some assets. You got to have the cards all have to fall in a much higher order than they did during those ninja loan, subprime loan days 15 years ago. So let's look at inventory. Let's look at the actual homes on the market for sale. Back in 2007, 2008, there were 3.8 million homes on the market for sale. Now keep in mind the average year is about 6 million homes sold per year. So there was 3.8 million homes on the market for sale back during 2007, 2008 when the housing market crashed. That's why I say it was kind of like the perfect storm. You had gas prices go up, you had jobs lost, you had subprime loans, you had a huge inventory of houses. The years leading up to that, everybody and their brother wanted to be a real estate agent, a mortgage broker, and a home builder. And understandably so, because it was a means of which you could make a really good living. Now fast forward to today in 2023, there are 1.2 million homes on the market. So I joke with people and say there's literally less homes on the market than there are real estate agents, because there's like 1.5 million real estate agents around the country. But there's more. And here's a big one. Mortgage delinquencies. Back in 2007, 2008, 10.1% of the people that had mortgages were delinquent. That means they were 30 or more days behind in their mortgage. Now, compared to today, 2023, that number is 3.6%. So literally, it was 2.5 times more people delinquent on their mortgage back in 2007, 2008 than there are today. And of course, here's a big one. The big one is home foreclosures. Back in 2007, 2008, there were 4.6 million homes in foreclosure. Compared to today at 2023, there's less than 1% of the homes that are in foreclosure. It's actually 0.6% of the homes in foreclosure. So when you look at these economists, take for example Lawrence Yun, he's the senior vice president for the National Association of Realtors. They do tons of work and they're predicting that 4.7 million homes will be sold in the year of 2023. Now that is a decline in home sales to the tune of 6.8% as opposed to the homes that sold, which are 5.1 million homes sold in 2022. And they're actually predicting that the median price of a home is to stay around $385,000. They're really not predicting it to change much. However, real estate is hyper-local. So when you look at these economists and all of these Yahoo Finance and CoreLogic and National Association of Realtors, and most of the time they're speaking on an overall national level. But when you really, the rubber meets the road, you want to know where is it locally. That's why I always tell people, get with a good qualified professional in your area, do your own research, do a little calculations, find out what the average sales price is, what's the days on the market, what's the price per square foot. So you'll know, okay, this is what the house is going to sell for, this is what my payment is going to be based on the current rate, and will this be a comfortable transition for me, whether I'm a first-time home buyer, whether I'm downsizing, whether I'm upsizing, whether I'm relocating. Now in terms of housing markets and which ones are going to be the hottest housing market, they're projecting that the South Carolinas and North Carolinas are going to be a really hot housing market, as well as they're predicting Atlanta, Georgia to be one of the top housing markets for 2023. So regardless of where you're living, where you want to live, it really just depends on you. You purchase a house if you're comfortable. Don't purchase a house if you're not comfortable. If you think it's a good time to buy a house. If you don't think it's a good time to buy, don't buy a house. I'm curious, what do you think? We have all these economists telling us this. I know what I see, I know what I'm predicting, but what do you think? What are you seeing in your market? Where are you living? What do you predict? Is it a good time to buy in your market, or is it not a good time to buy in your market? Most importantly, hearing from you, people that watch our videos, that's where the consumers truly get the most accurate information.